Hello, guys, and welcome to your Sunday show. Today is Sunday, September 16th, 2018. Glad to have you guys here. Now, here's what I want to talk about. We're in a huge amount of trouble. Every time you stand in line at one of these grocery stores or whatever, and the person in front of you hauls out this new little plastic card, it's not really it's not, oftentimes it's not really a Visa card or anything. It's a card that links them to their bank account. It's a debit card. Well, it's going further now. Today I was watching something. The very first store, grocery type store, that runs off of, there's no cash registers. There's nobody to take your cash. You can't use cash. The store runs completely on your credit. And how it works is you just go in, and anything you take, there's nobody to even see you taking it. It's just cameras on each product. They have a thing that the cameras on the ceiling, and I guess they have weight scales or whatever, so they know you took the product. And the cameras on the ceiling see the product that you took, and the computer registers like it with the artificial intelligence or whatever, and it knows what you took, and it doesn't register that you took it until you actually walk out with it. And then it goes ka-ching, and it takes it right from your bank account without you doing anything. It's just you paid for it. So you can take whatever you want, and you don't see anybody in the store. You just walk in and get what you want and put it in your bag and walk out. Almost to the person that's a shopper, it would almost feel like you're getting free stuff until you get home and you look on your phone. You can see everything that you bought itemized, and it's all been paid for from your bank account. There's nobody to take anything back to. There's nobody at the store. There's nobody that works there. I guess they stock the shelves at night, and when you go there in the day, there's nobody there. There's not even any store employees. You just walk in, take what you want, and go home. This is a new model for the grocery stores that this will be spreading, and this will spread almost as fast as these debit cards. Now, do you remember when these debit cards started a few years back? I mean, you'd never seen anybody using a debit card or a credit card or anything like that. Everybody paid cash, and it was not that long ago. What we're doing is, as a society in general, we are making this shift over to this new method of doing business everywhere. And we're making it wholeheartedly. We're adopting this so fast. This is all coming in so fast. And it's not like we've tested any of this stuff before. It's not like we've got redundant systems in place in case something goes wrong. We've got some sort of redundant system that'll help us out if the whole thing goes wrong, if something goes bad. You see, the old system we used to have with cash and the cash registers and the person working there, that system might have been slow. It might have been simple. It might have been something that a lot of people didn't like or whatever, because if they didn't have the cash, they couldn't buy it, and they might have forgot to bring enough cash with them or whatever. But that system was hard to break. What I mean by hard to break is if there was a catastrophe or something, people could still go to the store and buy groceries. You know? But what's happened is we've shifted over into this new system, this new way of doing things, without testing it. We're all going all in, all hog, into this new way or this new system of purchasing things, because this first store that's starting up right now, their overhead is going to be so cheap. Half of their personnel they don't need. They don't need any cash register girls. They don't need anybody to do anything. The store's empty of employees. The only people that they're going to really have to hire is nighttime workers that restock the shelves. That's half of the workforce gone. That's a huge expense gone on the store. So they're going to adopt this, and they're going to put, all the stores are going to go this way, and you won't be able to buy anything with cash in any of the stores. This could all happen within the next couple years because store owners will just convert. They'll just, once this, they can see that this is going to work good, they'll convert all the stores over this way. What could go wrong? Well, I'm here to tell you one hell of a lot can go wrong. Because this system, in order for it to function properly, has to be hooked up to the internet. And the banking system has to be open and ready for business, ready to confirm all of your transactions. Well, sure, it's fine right now. The internet's up and running good. The banking system's working good. You know, what could go wrong? I'm here to tell you what could go wrong. This should not be allowed. And I know right now it's all allowed because we haven't had a disaster yet. But the disaster could be unparalleled in proportions and scope from us going all hog in for this system. Maybe this show of mine's a warning. Nobody's probably going to hear it. I get a few thousand people listen to this show. But in the overall scheme of things, that's nothing. But everybody should hear this show because this is important, because this could be our demise. Why? Is because we're making ourselves vulnerable to the Russians. It doesn't take an atomic bomb anymore. All the Russians have to do is cut the transatlantic cable that brings our internet and carries our internet. If we go all hog into this system of buying and selling and turn our whole financial system into a giant machine that functions only off of the internet. Sure, it's a smooth running machine. What could go wrong? The old system, the way they used to have it, where barter and everything was done with an old-fashioned cash register that you remember used to have to pull the handle and it go ka-ching, and it was all mechanical, the cash registers. They've taken all those cash registers out now. They've taken them to the dump. They've smashed them with a sledgehammer and had them go up on that, you know, that machine's got the electric thing that comes down. It's an electromagnet, picks them up, puts them on the train, and takes them into where they melt it for the steel. That's where the cash registers went. Those cash registers didn't even need electricity. They didn't even need the internet. They didn't need nothing. All they needed was just pull the handle and put the cash in, or put the gold and silver and coins in. Can you imagine if we had stuck to that old system of gold and silver coins and those old-fashioned cash registers? That kind of a system is impossible to destroy it. It doesn't matter if Mount Vesuvius, if Yellowstone were to blow up, we could still do business with those old cash registers and gold and silver. We could still do business if Yellowstone blew up. If the internet was off for 6 weeks, we could still do business. But in all of our we think we're so smart with this modern society we have. These college boys, they think they're so smart, transforming society over into this new internet vision of a world that they have. But they're leading us all straight into a trap where all it has to do to spring that trap is the Russians come along and cut one cable. And they say, well, how long would it take us to replace that cable? Well, with our whole entire economy disrupted, we might never be able to fix the cable. Just simply cutting one cable might put us back so far with the craziness that would ensue if we go all hog into this new fangled uh, internet run, so that everything runs off of the internet, all the stores, everything, all of our money, everything. We put everything, all of our eggs into that basket. And if that basket spills over and the eggs get cracked, we're done. It's game over. Because I'll tell you what will happen to these grocery stores and stuff that are connected to the internet. I'm going to tell you, want me to tell you exactly what will happen if the Russians cut the cable? What would happen is the internet would go dead. Nobody would be able to make any purchases in these stupid newfangled grocery stores. And they would hold the people out for a while. But then all of a sudden you get gate jumpers. And they would come in there and they would take everything that's in the store and they would just go out with it. And they would empty that store in an hour. And then all it would be is a bit of trampled food on the floor. They would be like a bunch of locusts. And what would be left for everyone else? Nothing. It would happen so fast. And that's all we have for our food supply. And we're doing the exact same thing with these big farms and stuff. They're all of the machinery in the farm and everything, the tractors included. What we're doing is we're putting things inside all of our new automobiles and stuff so that the internet has to come on, or your car won't even start in the end. Unless the internet's up and running. This is the kind of systems we're putting in. Everything's totally dependent on the internet. And I'll admit, I learned something today that I was watching something on YouTube, and our new phones and our new internet systems is coming out now are a little bit less, a little bit harder to interrupt them with static electricity, so they'll probably work out a little bit better if there is some sort of a an event like the event that occurred back in the 1800s called the Carrington event. Things might work out a little bit better now. Our systems might be a little bit less vulnerable, but still, if we go all hog into these internet systems so that everything's connected to the internet, all the cash registers and everything. And what's worse, now they're even getting rid of the cash registers and getting rid of a real person. Okay, to make my point, and I'm going to go off of this topic, but I mean, what I want to talk about is, have you guys ever phoned up a company or something? And they've got some sort of a phone system in there that will not let you talk. A lot of them, you know, they got the operator on there, and she's a robot. Got the robotic voice and everything, and she says, and when you pick the phone up to try to call in, if you got a problem or something, they keep going you through these menus. Push 3 if you're this. Push 4 if you're that. So you go through all these numbers, and you're listening to this robotic voice, and you're trying to get a real person. Well, most of them will have a method that you can get a real person on there if you know what button to push. Then they'll say, okay, we're going to transfer your call to a real operator. And you can hear the phone ringing then to a real person. And you breathe like a sigh of relief. Oh, finally, I got a real person, you know. Well, some of these companies, you can't get a real person. Finally, in the end of the computer robot will end the call on you, and it'll say goodbye, dink, and that's it. The call's over. This is the kind of system we're building. We're building this into all of our just-in-time delivery systems, our food supply, everything else, our farms, everything. We're building that robotic, like the call system, building it into everything so that there's no way that it's going to function, and it's all going to be robotic. If something goes wrong, there's not even a real person to talk to. What we're doing is we're falling into a trap here. We're going to really get messed up, and it could cost all of us all of our lives. the system's going to function real well, except for the Russians. Believe me, the Russians know what button to push to shut the thing down. Now, here's the thing with the old cash register type system. The old system we used to have with cash and cash registers and everything else, it was slower, it wasn't as good, and everything else. But the Russians didn't have a kill switch on that. This new system that we're building right now, we're giving the Russians a kill switch. You think they're not going to use it when we're at our most vulnerable? You want to talk about, they talk about collusion with the Russians and everything as far as Trump is concerned and all that. I think that that was a bunch of horse manure. You know, I don't think there's any collusion and stuff. I think this is the real Russian menace, and it's happening right under our nose. We're making ourselves vulnerable to not a military attack, a cyber attack, or a real physical attack where they actually cut our cables for our computer operating systems and stuff. We're making ourselves vulnerable. And it should be against the law to make ourselves vulnerable. You know? It's just that the attack has not ever happened before. We've never made ourselves vulnerable before. And I just don't agree with it. I just think that it's off the wall. I just think that all these automated systems that they're putting in, we've never tested them. We've never been in this territory before, and we're going in all hog. What the hell's wrong with us? Am I the only guy that can see this? I know everybody's in love with this new way of doing things. Oh, it's a novelty. They can walk into the grocery store and throw their things, throw whatever they want in their bag and walk out. It feels like you're not paying. It's just wonderful. And it's wonderful for the store managers. It's wonderful for everybody else. And the same with the farms. You know, I mean, you might have a farm now, and the guy that owns a farm, he says, look at this. And he's got his little cell phone, and he can see how much milk he's producing on his cow. His cows are producing everything else on his farm because they got some sort of a solenoid valve set up that meters the milk or whatever. You know, and it's connected to the internet. And he can say, look, I can see how much money I'm making and everything on his cell phone. It's just so convenient. Everything runs so good. But what about if the internet shuts down? That solenoid valve won't open up, and his cows won't get milked. And there's no way of fixing it. You can't do something as simple as milking a cow. All of the farm workers have forgot how, or they've never been trained how to milk a cow by hand, and the cows, their bags are swelling up, and the internet's down, and then nobody knows what to do. This is the kind of society we're heading into. And maybe I'm the only guy squealing about this and saying, hey, look, the problem, it's a problem. Everybody else is just content. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. This has been your Sunday show. This is a problem that I see, and I don't like it. I don't like where we're going. I wish we were going back to the good old days. As bad as I mean, things weren't perfect in the old days, but what they're building us now, I see it as something that's making us tremendously vulnerable. There is ways that they could probably do it, the systems wouldn't be as vulnerable. They could probably fix it, but they've put the whole thing in so fast, they haven't thought about the vulnerabilities. Bye-bye, guys.